Welcome to this talk about the black swan and the so-called Lindley case. Lindley example. My name is Terje Arven, University of Stavanger. And this case referred to Lindley discussing Nassim Taleb's book about the black swan from 2007. And Dennis Lindley, one of the really strong advocates of Bayesian analysis and probability calculus, is simply making fun of Nassim Taleb and his concept of black swan and this distinction he make between the world of Medo-Christian, probability world on the one hand, and the extremistan, the black swan world on the other. And Dennis Lindley is saying that we don't need this distinction, we can do everything with probability. And this is the book from 2007 I referred to by Nassim Taleb. And Lindley has an interesting example as trying to sort of convince us about this conclusion. He has a sequence of independent trials with a constant unknown chance of success, and success meaning then having a white swan, not success is a black swan. And then, of course, if this P is close to 1, the probability to get a white swan next is close to 1. But if you have a huge population of swan, there will be probability calculus will show it, and he is doing that, Lindley, that you have probability close to 1 that you have a black swan there. That a black swan is almost certain to rise if you see a lot of swans. The population is big enough, you will get a black swan. So probability calculus showing that. So the whole idea of this black swan is not that interesting, he is arguing. So I thought this example was quite interesting and looked into Dennis Lindley's sort of evaluation and his calculations using sort of the standard Bayesian setup. And it was based on a prior distribution, here a uniform distribution. A uniform distribution is what he's starting from. And then I would ask you, what is the probability that P is 1 given this assumption? Yes, you're right. This is just a point, and then the probability is 0. And the conclusion from that is that there is a positive fraction of black swans out there. So then it's not surprising at all that you will, if the population is huge enough, you will find one of them. Probability close to 1. Yes, the population is big enough because you have presumed that there is a fraction of black swans out there. And that is really the key. The probability-based approach is always conditional on certain assumptions, a background knowledge. And this background knowledge could conceal or hide critical assumptions. In this case, the assumption that you're actually saying that there's a fraction of black swans out there. But this was not communicated in the communication between Dennis Lindley and Nassim Taleb. And this can be quite misleading then. Now, let me then show another example showing that the result could be completely different if you have different assumptions. Let's say that you have only 2 possibilities for the P to simplify. P is either the probability of a white swan is simply 1 or 99% or 99. So we have a case where we could have that all swans are white, 80% probability, 20% probability are the 2 probabilities for these 2 possibilities, and as a prior distribution. And then we do observations and we get a lot of white swans, and we can then show, using probability calculus, that the probability of a black swan occurring in a huge population is simply close to 0 after having observed a lot of white swans, given these assumptions. So we get completely different conclusions depending on the assumptions we are making. And this is the key. In using the probability-based approach, we always have to reflect the background knowledge, the assumption that these probabilities are based on. So the argumentation that Dennis Lindley is really bringing forward, that you can do everything with probability, does not really hold. It's not really valid, because probability is conditional on certain assumptions and knowledge, and this knowledge, these assumptions, also are important aspects of risk uncertainties and need to be analyzed and scrutinized. And that does not Lindley do in his analysis, and therefore his argumentation towards Nassim Taleb is not strong and valid in my view. Thank you.